fashion business.
Sorry.
And then making it succeed. Like, how do you take that first step and not be so scared that you're stifled and frozen? What do you do?
Oh, I think it was something that I must have learned early on, because it's not really, I don't think really in my DNA. I think this was really practiced, because I'm definitely someone who was a perfectionist. So just like, just trying and just starting was not natural to me. And so I'm in my 50s too. And, really similarly, right, recently retired. And, I thought, okay, I'm going to be retired. I'm just going to kind of chill. And then very quickly, I was like, I do love the less stress part of retirement, but I wanted something more. And, it took me a little while, but then I just figured, I hope that I live to be 100. And when I think of that, that's 50 more years. That's, another 50 years. So to me, I was like, I went back to school. I decided I went back to school because I don't know why, I just wanted to take the leap. So I've encouraged myself, and I've also with my children, told them, as now they're adults, if you want to try something, like, just try it. I know it sounds so easy, and I know that it isn't, but I usually ask myself this. I say, like, what's the worst that can happen? So if you're not okay with, like, if you're risking something and you're not okay with the, what the worst case scenario could be, then I would probably advise, like, maybe that's not a smart thing to jump off. Cause I've done that too, where I think this is a great, thinking, what's the worst that can happen? Well, I could have to lose my home, like, I'm not into that, So that's, I just think that believing in those things that, when you have those kind of whispers, like, I want to start a business, or I'm really being pulled in this direction. I encourage people, and I encourage myself, to listen to those whispers, because to me, those are your passions. Those are those things. And, maybe you think, I want to, start a small business. And so maybe you give it a little bit, or you try it, and then you find yourself going, like, I don't think this was for me, which is totally fine. Along the way, you're going to learn things,
Sure.
Learn what you like, learn what you didn't like. And I think that's kind of what life's all about, is just walking through that process.
Very true. Commendable, though. A big risk you took, and an incredible success. So I admire you wholeheartedly.
Thank you. And I will say this, though, I took a leap when I didn't have a whole lot to lose. And so it turned out really well for me, but I was at a place in my life when we started our company in 1998 where I was about ready to lose my home, because we didn't make enough money to, make ends meet. And so I was sitting there going, like, I don't know what else we're going to do. We'll probably have to either sell the house before we lose it, try and figure out how to get out of debt. And my mom and I had this idea, and I'm like, great, I have zero money to put into this, so I will do everything work, so I didn't have a lot to lose. So it wasn't quite as brave as it may have seemed, but I've also taken brave steps along the way, other parts of my life. So.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think you just beat me to the little intro I had, but now that we have a few more people that have signed on, I just wanted to give a little introduction on you before we get started. So for those of you who don't know, Stephanie Fleming is not just the author of Plan a Happy Life, but she is the co-founder of Me and My Big Ideas, which she started with her mom. And that's the parent company for the Happy Planner, which I am obsessed with. I have been religiously using it for, I think, 5 or 6 years now. And she has since recently retired. She retired, I believe, during the pandemic, right? In 2020.
Yeah.
And has focused on becoming a certified wellness coach. So her work with Plan a Happy Life and getting herself healthier has inspired her to start a new career, in a way, at 50 something, 50?
Yeah, just turned 51.
So we'll let her tell us a little bit more about her new wellness coaching pursuits. But we want to take a little bit into nurturing happiness from this section. So if you can tell us a little bit, and before we get started, we're a small group, so if anybody has questions, just jump in. But can you tell us a little bit of how you got started into your wellness journey and what inspired you? I know I follow you on your IG live, so I have a little bit of insight, but not everybody might know.
Yes. So wellness has been something that for a long time has eluded me. I grew up I was born in 71. I grew up in the 80s. I grew up in the diet culture. So I grew up with a mom who was overweight, very insecure, and I'm very much built like my mom. So the minute my mom saw, oh God, she might be putting on any weight, and I'm talking like, like chubby cheeks when I was young, she's like, we're going to Weight Watchers. I think I was 11 years old with not a weight issue at all. So from a very young age, I was influenced by thinking I always needed to be thinner. Everything was geared towards how much I weighed. And that was very much a part of my life and in our household. So I grew up with really bad body image issues, just constantly trying to figure out how I was going to, be worthy and how I was going to fit in. And on the outside, it looked like I had everything. I was a cheerleader. I was, dating the football star and, that kind of thing. And it looked like in high school, but I was desperately insecure and very self-conscious. And that went all the way into my 20s. And I just found myself it was slipping away from me. I never felt healthy. I never felt like I fit in. I never felt, I always looked at, I was a very young mom and I thought I'd see all these moms that looked like they had it together. And I thought, oh, if only I could be thin, if only I could be thin. And I've tried every diet. I mean, you could call it out. I've tried it. I've done Jenny Craig and Nutrisystem and Weight Watchers, and I've done diet pills back in the day. And I've lost severe amount, you guys know the story, right? So, but but health and wellness was farther and farther away from me. So I even, I built my business. I became extremely successful that way, still felt the same way, if not even worse. So this idea of a healthy individual, a healthy woman, I wanted this so badly. So I kind of started to really try and get a grasp of wellness in my 20s and in my 30s. Was not doing a good job. I went through a terrible, really tough divorce when I was about 37. And I was forced to take a look at myself. And at that time, I was like, I realized I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was besides being a mom. I loved being a mother. I still do. It was my only identity, really, in being a business person. And I started to really kind of look at my life in a very non-judgmental and kind way. And I realized that I needed to understand how to be healthy. So fast forward to this part of the book in I think it's chapter 9. I tell a story about when I was very fortunate to be able to go to this wellness resort, and I had my first experience with functional and integrative medicine. I didn't even know that this was a thing. And I wrote in the book about this talk. So at this point, I was in my 40s. I was overweight. I was extremely stressed out. I had just gotten back some blood tests that were thinking, oh my God, at 40, I shouldn't have all of these issues. And I sit down, I'm paying this ridiculous amount of money, to sit in front of this guy. And I sit down and in his office, and he said, so how are you? And I said, oh, I've got high cholesterol. I really would like to lose weight. I just go off on this list of all my symptoms. And he says, no. How are you? How are you doing? How's your life? What brings you joy? He's like, let's just talk about this for a little while. And I was like, he goes, I want to see you. I want to know what makes you happy and what makes you tick. And I just literally waterworks started. I just started crying because it was the first time I had felt seen. And I realized that he was introducing me to integrative medicine and functional medicine, where you look beyond sickness and you learn to, develop optimal health. And so that was where I had this like aha moment. And I'm like, this is what I need to pursue in my life. And I started the slow and steady journey into looking in what is all these elements of wellness, which I list in the book. And, I think people are becoming more and more aware of different elements of wellness that make you, wholly healthy. And, really, it's not just about what you weigh. I mean, really, I don't even know how much I weigh today, because it's not really, yes, I know that I need to weigh less on my frame. Just more like it's like data, but for me, I want to know, how's my stress levels? Am I sleeping? How are my relationships? Like, these are the kinds of things that I approach in this wellness journey. And I used my planner to really make some connections between why I was doing some of the things I was doing. I was emotionally eating, and I was making those connections by, planning, going home and thinking, oh my gosh, I went home and I had, I stopped by In-N-Out. And then after I had my second thing of fries, I had a whole bottle of wine and I felt like crap, but I journaled and I was like, what happened today? Well, I was in a meeting and I felt very marginalized, and I was angry. I didn't know what to do when I felt that anger. And I realized that there are certain emotions I just don't know how to process. And those connections and that work that I kept doing I've just grown by leaps and bounds, and I'm so much happier and lighter and brighter. And so that was kind of where I got super excited. And then when I retired, I was like, I could go and learn more about this. I don't have anything left to do now, so I don't have a job. So I went and I got certified to be an integrative nutrition health coach, which I just ate up and loved. And then I've actually gone back to enrolled in college, because I had my first son at 18. So I never went to college. So I went back and went back for a degree in psychology and a minor in nutrition, so I can combine the two. So I just learn more. I just want to know and soak it all up. So that's where I have kind of gone. I mean, it's really come full circle for me. And I think what's important is really making your wellness and your health a priority, but taking that, the focus off of, yes, it's important to exercise, and yes, it's important to eat healthy. I mean, the nutrition is an important part of it, but I think our society, we look and we say, if you're not healthy and you're not feeling well, the first thing we do is, what are you eating? Don't do this, don't do that. And then, and go and make sure you are exercising. But there's so many things that are underlying. You might be unhappy at work. Maybe you have a job that drains you every single day and it makes you miserable. And you go home and your stress levels are through the roof. It doesn't matter if you eat a kale salad, and you go on a walk. I mean, that's going to be nice. But what you really need to be addressing is the stress levels from your job. So, gosh, I could just sit here and ramble all day, but that's basically the story of how I became so passionate about wellness.
Does anybody have any questions yet?
No, but I'm listening to her, and I think it's me sitting there seeing some of these things, especially the 1971 is the first thing, but I listened to it and it's like, yeah, that's where I'm at, when you said the thing about the French fries and the wine, it's like, yes, I've been there, and it didn't really solve anything,
No.
I didn't even know why I was doing it, but I just really did feel like crap after I did it. Or you eat a pint of ice cream, or when it's sort of like you're masking whatever it is that's going on. And whatever it is that's going on is not that you can't control yourself around a pint of ice cream. There's something else there. And, I think that reading through your book, I've been a happy planner person forever. I mean, happy planners and notebooks and books that I've never even opened, but I just buy them because of the cover, and stickers and sticker books. But reading through the book, I think you break it down so easily, and so it's so approachable what you did.
Thank you.
And I think that we can all relate to it in some way, because you get a lot of books, and yeah, you read what you should be doing or how should be feeling, but then your book was just really straightforward and very relatable. So I wanted to say that because I think it resonates with all of us. I'm speaking for everyone here, but I would assume that we all feel the same way. It really resonates. And just the fact that you're able to incorporate all these things and then use your planner at the same time in order to achieve them, it's sort of like your planner becomes your go-to. And I think that was your purpose in creating that as well, and the stickers and the motivation behind it, and your wellness planners and your exercise planners. It all came together for me. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. When I wrote the book, the first pass that came through, I worked with somebody who helped, because I was an entrepreneur. I wasn't an author. And I worked with someone who helped me put the book together. And she's like, let me take my pass from all the things that you've written and all the talks that we had. And she pulled this together, and the editor wanted all these answers. And I went back and I thought, well, my contract here, I'm going to lose this thing, because I said, I don't want to pretend that I have all the answers, because I don't. And I also didn't want to pretend that even if I had answers for myself, that those would be the answers that would work for you. And I think that's whether it's a planning style, or whether it's your own health and wellness, or anything in your life, we want so badly to pick up a book or listen to a podcast and say, oh, if I just do A, B, and C, then I will be A, B, I'll be happy, I'll be whatever, I'll find the right person, I'll get married, blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't work that way. And the thing is that I think that the real answers don't sell products. You're not it's not a diet. It's not a thing it's a process. It's learning how to trust yourself. It's learning how to know that nobody knows your body and yourself better than you do. And I know when I go to sit down and eat that pint of ice cream, I now know for me that, okay, I am either trying to mask something, numb something, avoid something, and it's okay. But there's no amount of somebody telling me that this is the answer, that it's going to be. There's no cleanse that I can take. There's nothing. Really, it is a process. The answer is very simple, but it's not easy to do. It's really looking at yourself and when I went through the course to be a health coach, all I kept saying, we learned hundreds of dietary theories, because it was like, hey, there isn't one. Somebody might say keto works for me, or I'm gluten free, or whatever. There's not one right answer, even in dietary theories. But what I learned was, there are very basic things to be well. Managing your stress is one of them. Getting enough sleep, maintaining good quality relationships, eating nutrient dense food, and moving your body. Those are like the top 5. I'm like, no matter if you could do those things, however they work for you, we would all be so much healthier, and happier. But like, the reason why I think it doesn't get out there the way I would love it to is because no one can sell that. That's not a product that can be sold. Yeah. And even if you figured out your answer or I figured out mine, it's going to be different for everybody else. But I kept coming back to those same things. It's like those were the main kind of like the common denominators. Yeah, for sure. And I think too, when you're talking about, I called my emotional eating, which is what I'm specializing in, because that was such a thing for me. I'm really good at happy, obviously. I'm very good. I can even do sad, but anger, or when I felt, like I said, when I feel like I'm being taken advantage of, or especially when I'm angry, I don't know how to do this because I'm a people pleaser in recovery, hopefully, but I don't like it when people are mad at me, and I don't like to be mad at people. So anger comes up for me. And I always say, like, I'm looking at your picture down there with the island or with the beach and stuff. And it says, I would go to what I called Comfort Island. And I said, man, I took up residency there. Like, I know how to live in denial, and I know how to live. But I was so ashamed of it. You know, I was so ashamed of, after you eat like that and you do those things, I feel, you know, you don't feel good in the first place going to do that. And then after, I'm like, I think I just drank that whole bottle of wine by myself after that. Then the shame and the guilt comes in, which is this shame spiral, right? I know Brene Brown talks about a shame spiral. And it's also the thing that triggers emotional eating, because once you get there and you start your emotional eating, and then those triggers shame and guilt makes you want to not feel that. And the cycle continues. So, again, that comes down into when I would write this. Journaling for me and reflection was the biggest, like, linking for me of what I was doing, the actions that I had, and how I was in the feelings and how they connected. Because you would think that it would be very apparent to me that I was pissed at this meeting and I'd come home and I did this, but it wasn't. You know, there's this gap in between that we just don't see. So I used my planner, I used my wellness planner as a way of, at first I was tracking all my food, and I realized I don't need to be doing that. I know what's healthy. I know that I should be walking. I used it at that point where I go, you know, what is it that I need? And that's one of the things that I encourage people to do is, if you are using any kind of journaling, or you're trying to track a wellness planner. And I know, Michelle, one of your questions was, how do you prioritize wellness when you're busy, when you've got a lot of stuff going on?
Actually, my next question. Yes. That's normally the thing that comes off the to-do list first.
Yeah. Well, I think that we always put ourselves last, right? And there's always something you got to do. So now I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to do that. And I know what it's like to just not have any time. When, you know, at the end of running our business, we were 24/7. I mean, it was, I don't know how, and my husband was a CEO. So we were like, we lived it. We talked about it in bed. We talked about it eating at the breakfast table. But you have to prioritize yourself. And so I know there's not a lot of time sometimes to do everything you might want to do. So when in the book, there's a place and you don't have to do it in the book. You could do it on a journal page to say, like, you sit down at the beginning of your week, let's say, and say, what do I need? What is lacking? What do I need most this week? Because what you need most for your wellness this week might not be running every morning. You know, it might be, you might need to relax. You might need to, like, I need some time to, you know, if I have a half an hour and every day that I can sit and read and just breathe, that might be what you need. You know, maybe you need to grieve. Maybe there's something going on in your life and you need, you know, you don't need to push yourself in some areas and go, oh, you know, I need meal prep and I need to do this. If what you need most is to grieve the loss of something, then maybe you need to attend to that first and then find that time. Because we all have time. Even at my busiest, I still binge watched Ray Donovan one day for, like, you know, hours. And I mean, I know there is time. You can find 15 minutes or half an hour. You can wake up a little earlier, and you are worth it. What you need to do to be a healthy person is worth whatever you need to do. And I say that with a deep understanding of what it's like to not have a lot of time. But when you don't, and I didn't for a while, my health started to decline, and it didn't matter how successful my business was. My husband had heart issues at the end of our business, which is one of the reasons why we decided to retire, because the stress was so much for him. And his father had died young of a heart attack. And we just said, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. So, don't do what we did, and find that time that you can schedule for whatever it is you need. And then, I get to the point where I wake up in the morning and I ask myself that in the mornings and say, what do I need today? Today I need to freaking hustle, because I have put stuff off. Today I need to do stuff. Tomorrow I might need to slow down, but that's coming back into getting in tune to your own intuition and what your mind and your own body is telling you that you need, because it happens all the time. We just shut it out.
How do you keep yourself motivated when you've lost that motivation? I know for me, I started my wellness journey 4 years ago because I was about to turn 40. I turned 40 during the pandemic, so my health journey declined once the gyms and everything closed.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got crappy health news, which made working out be put to the side for a few months. And then I got comfortable. Yeah. I'm like, oh, it's so nice not running to the gym every day. And now I'm like ready to start again. And I'm missing that motivation that I had 4 years ago, which I'm sure can happen to a lot of people when you skip a few days or skip a few weeks and get into the comfort of binge watching TV at the end of a stressful work day. I'm working from home now, so it's a lot easier to turn on the TV than get in my car from the office and drive to the gym. So
yeah, well, motivation, I think, back in the day when people thought, you need willpower and, motivation and stuff, and motivation is not consistent. Motivation is something that, in my opinion, sometimes you have it. Like you said, some days you're like, I'm raring to go, and other days you just don't. And so I try not to rely a whole lot on motivation, because it's fickle. It's very fickle. So where I found more success has been, number one, the things that I need to do, I try and find the stuff that I like to do. I hate, and I never hardly ever use that word, I hate going to the gym. Oh, but I kept telling myself, I'm going to get fit. And so I'm going to the gym because I'm going to be a gym person. And I hate it. I don't like it. I think it's smelly. And hey, if you're a gym person, I'm not hating it for you, but for me, I don't know why I was trying so hard to make this happen. Yeah. I like being out in nature. I like going on hikes. And so I like kayaking. I can't kayak all the time, but I just started to make this list. If I needed to be more, physically active, what do I like to do? Because it makes it a little bit more pleasurable. Not that everything needs to be, happy. I mean, I need to start lifting weights. This is something like I trying to figure out what else can I do. I've started I went to my daughter's house and I'm like, I'll move those cinder blocks because this is a way so that I can, strength training without being in a gym. But so I try and find something that I love. And then habits, stacking habits. Have you heard of habit stacking? This is where, for me, that has been key, because I grew up and my family was we were your typical, my parents were kind of hippies, and my mom's kind of artsy. So you can imagine it was I am so in touch with my inner feelings and my touchy-feely and tactile experiences and stuff, but we did not have a lot of self-discipline. And so when it came down to me, even washing my face every night, I'd be like, nah. And then I watched my husband, who's very disciplined, and he's washing his face every single night, just over and over, saying this is his routine. And I thought, literally I was in my 40s when I found this out. But stacking habits is, for me, you take something that it's a trigger for you, right? Or a cue for you. So for us, I'll use this example of one in our life, which is really small, but it's taking supplements. So I hate that too. I'm not very good at swallowing pills. So I would stack them all up, right, and get them in there. And then I'd be like, oh, there they are again. Didn't take those yesterday. So my husband and I, our cue is in the morning, we get up for breakfast, and every day I get both of our old people pill containers, and I take his supplements, I put them in by his chair, I put mine by my chair. The containers are in the same spot in the kitchen. I give us each a glass of water, and then we sit and we have breakfast and we talk, and we don't miss a day of taking our supplements now. Not because we are motivated to, not because we are like so good at it now, but because it's become such a habit for us, just like brushing our teeth. That's how I instill something that I want. And it takes a while. And then when they say you habit stack, right? So maybe my next thing is after that, then I fill up my big hydro flask, my big 40-ounce hydro flask of water, because the next thing I want to do is take that around with me for the day. So it's finding those areas that you can, if it is being more physically active, like what is something that happens for you every day, or that you can say, okay, you know what, when I get up in the morning or when I do this, I'm going to put my shoes and my workout outfit, like, ready to go in the morning, because what's your barrier to entry, so to speak? Like, what's hard for you to do? And then how can you get over that? Like for us, it was, I don't know, the supplements are under the counter and I don't really like it anyway, so I don't really do it. So how can you make it more accessible and easier for you to become like brushing your teeth, Does
anybody have any questions?
I just think she's like me. And I just, because that's what I have done during the pandemic. I went the opposite route. I started dieting. I started eating better. I started exercising every day. And I hate exercising. And I do it every single day, to the point that now I have to be told, you need a rest day. You can't. I do it every single day. And I do it at the same time every single day. And it's become a habit.
Yeah.
And the days that I don't do it, I feel off, not because I feel sluggish.
Right.
I just feel like something's missing. Same thing with the supplements. I never could take pills.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know what? I'm not going to have gummies because it's just like having a handful of candy. So I'm not going to do that. So I started taking Flintstone vitamins, like little kid. And then I said, okay, well, this wasn't so bad. I'm going to add another supplement to it. So it was 2. Then I added another one and another one. And now it's like I have 2 pill cases full of supplements,
mm-hmm.
but that's all I take.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird how you say that, because it just happens, just one thing after another. And then it becomes such a part of your daily routine that just one miss, you're just like, okay, no, I feel
it becomes your new norm. It becomes your new norm. And I think that you brought up a really good point. It's another concept that I learned in my training, which was called crowding out. So instead of telling you, oh, you're gonna start eating healthier, like don't do this and don't do this and don't do that. It's adding things that are maybe more beneficial, little at a time, to where it becomes, like you said, you're gonna have your one vitamin. Take your one Flintstone vitamin.
You break the bad habits in the same way.
Yes. And you're walking farther down the road to where you want to be. And instead of it feeling like restriction, you're actually crowding out the bad stuff. And the more the more you go down that road, and I've been there before where I've been very active and walking all the time. If I missed, it wasn't because I felt guilty because I didn't do it. It's because I felt so good when I would go out on my walks in the morning that I felt like I missed that endorphin, that boost. So, but I would tell myself that same thing. Instead of saying, oh, I need to go on a walk every day, I would say, all right, today, my biggest trick for myself was, because I like to go for like 45 minutes, but on the days that I didn't feel like it, 45 minutes feels like 3 hours, So I would say, if I gotta go at least just around the block. I'm going to get outside. I'm going to go around the block. And I never stop around just going around the block. I get out there. And once I've crossed that, I would say it's like that big rock. Once you get it moving, the momentum is so much easier. So I would just kind of trick myself into saying, you just have to go around the block, just 15 minutes. And I always ended up, going on my regular path. But yeah, crowding out is whether you're talking about, unhelpful habits that you want to, get rid of, or or new habits you want to form, or even like, foods. And when I cut sugar out of my diet, I didn't just like cut it all out. And I still obviously have sugar stuff, now and again, but I always be like, okay, the first thing that I'm going to do is, instead of having my coffee mate creamer, I'm going to, use oat milk, just have a better, because I would put, so much of my creamer in. It's like, have a little coffee with your sugar in the morning. And I didn't know why I would feel jittery. And then be at work, I'd have another cup with like, coffee mate sugar, and it was like, I don't know why I'm having these problems sleeping. Just don't know, it's like, I don't know, it could be the sugar or massive amounts of caffeine that you're drinking. So, but I would crowding out as a really powerful tool for sustainable changes. Not, anyone can stop doing something or start doing something and be very drastic. But I think we all know, whether it's a diet or, I'm going to do this every single day, or I'm never going to do this again, that isn't sustainable usually. And it's those small sustainable changes that are actually going to add up over time. And then all of a sudden, like you say, you're taking all your vitamins, you're working out, you're doing this thing. And then now say I've got my health there. And maybe you think, I don't know, my job or my relationship, and you just keep continuing to make those improvements.
Yeah.
So I wonder if I could jump in and ask a question, going a little bit more towards the beginning of what you were saying. You mentioned that you asked yourself at the end of a day, what happened today? And then you asked, are there emotions I don't know how to process? That really intrigued me. And I'm listening to this crowding out process and habit stacking. I have a hard time being consistent with journaling. And I love what you said. Are there emotions I don't know how to process? I'd love to go deeply into that in my personal life. What do I do? How do I crowd out, and how do I habit stack? Where do I gain that sense of consistency? Because I've tried, but because it's difficult, it gets pushed by the wayside right away.
So, I don't have it down here. I was just going to say, if I had, hold on. I'm the same way about being consistent with journaling. This is not the planner that I used, but it was, okay. So in the wellness planner that I have, these top two kind of squares are, it's like, it's got on there intention. This is different, but literally it was this bottom square rectangle right here, not a square. I go to school. It was this bottom rectangle right here. And if you can see, I think it's like, I don't even think it's 2 inches wide. It's tiny. This is where I journaled every day. So when I say I journaled every day, it's this. And one day it might be like, today sucked. That might be all I said. I just made a commitment. I actually did it. I don't think I said this, but I kept a wellness planner for an entire year, every day for an entire year. It was my commitment to myself. To say, I need to make these connections, and this is how I'm going to do it. So I need to commit to myself to every single day, track these things and write down just so I can make them. Right. And I was like, I have so many journals. I cannot tell you that have like the first 12 pages written in them. And then it would be, and then like, it skips, and it's like 3 years later going like, I'm not really good at this. I guess I should start it again. And I mean, so many, they're right here. I just kept them, but they're like beautiful journals with like 12 pages written in them. But when I gave myself permission to make it small, sometimes I put more. Some days I actually put in a little insert that had more. I had more to say. But when I knew I didn't have to like pour my heart out and write a novel every day, when I could say, today was great. My walk felt really good and easy. And I love that. I'm so proud of myself. Or, because my goal was to really connect my emotions to my behaviors, I focused on that. So if I said today was a really hard day, and I'd say I came home and ate whatever, I think this might have something to do with that meeting. Period. Because then what happens is my mind starts going, I'm going like, maybe that does have something to do with that. And then the next day I'm like going, okay, today felt better. And it was just those little tiny things. And and it depends on where you're at too. You know, for me, it was so early on in me making any connections that I just needed to be consistent, and I needed to make regular observations about what I was doing. And to me, like when I say, what did I need the most? I wasn't stacking any habits except for keeping this thing every day and making those connections for almost an entire year. And I did other things, and I started to feel better. And then I would go on another walk, and I would, you know, it kind of snowballed. But my main thing for that entire year was, you are self-sabotaging, and I don't know why. So it was making those connections. And I think you start to see that if you're really coming into this with number one, not like, and I've done this before too, where it's like, what a loser. Oh my God, I can't believe you're in this place. Oh, you did this. This is not a place for judgment, your inner critic, like none of that. This is here for, it's safe, it's you, and you are literally just somebody sitting on the outside observing and going, and lovingly, no judgment. Like, because we're all in these places in our lives. We have pasts, we have baggage, we have stories, and we do not need to be judging ourselves for this kind of stuff. You know, it's just not helpful. So to sit back and just to really almost be like a student, you're looking at something that's going on and going, you know, if what you need is to understand your emotions, then, you know, just take a look, and after you write it down, going like, okay, today was a good day. I was happy. I like that. This is how it made me feel. Okay, let's move on. You know, or if it was something else, if you're going like, I need, I'm lonely. And, you know, you can see so many people that are just lonely. And if you can look and say, okay, how does this make me feel every day? I made a connection. I talked to somebody at work, or I connected with somebody online, and how did that make me feel? And is that, you know, something I should be looking at? And really kind of looking at it with a growth mindset and a beginner's mind, you know, to see like, what can I learn from all of this? So, I mean, I think I know I didn't answer your question about like habit stacking and all that, but I think just giving yourself permission to make it small, you know, make it small until you feel like you want to do more.
Your wellness journal was an inspiration. Every time you shared that thing, I was like, I need to do something like this. And I tried. It was not to the extent that of your details were like awesome.
It was also my job. So give yourself some grace.
But it would, putting those little stickers and jotting it down would make me commit. As much as I hate going to the gym, that's where I would go, because I would do the group fitness classes. And even though no one knew me, I felt like if they noticed I missed a class, they'd be like, oh, this girl just shows up every 3 weeks. So that would keep me accountable, even if no one there knew who the heck I was.
Yes.
But eventually you end up meeting people, or you befriend the coaches, and it keeps you more accountable. And I did the same thing. I would journal in that little box. Sometimes it was just like, work sucked.
Yep.
You notice that going makes you feel better.
Yes. Yes. And I think, like I said, you make those connections that way. And I will say that in that planner now, like when I go back and I look at it, there are things that I did then that I wouldn't do now. And I don't go back and go, oh my God, I can't believe I messed up, because it was such a learning experience for me. I was still more in tune with my weight than I am now, but less so than I used to be. So our whole lives are just, you know, we learn as we go along. I knew then, I was like, there was times when I used to track my food a little bit too obsessively. And I would be in a place where, you know, my mom looked and goes, I swear to God, if you write that thing down about the lettuce and you're trying to, you know, it's lettuce.
Food tracking is,
you know,
weird.
Yeah. But I mean, but also some people might need to track their food. Maybe they have digestive issues and they're trying to figure out what's causing that, or, you know, so I can't even say tracking your food is not helpful, because for me, tracking my food is not helpful. For somebody else, it might be exactly what they need. For me, tracking my weight, I would track my weight every day. Every day I got on the scale. And I thought that this was keeping me accountable. But when I really looked at it, I saw that every time, I mean, it went up like 0.2. And even if I was on doing, you know, feeling great and going on myself, I this felt like a failure. Point 2 up was a failure to me. And I thought, this is not helpful for me anymore. I need to be aware, but you know, it's really about like using these things to reinforce what you want to accomplish.
I bought the Happy Planner in 2020 and 2021 with the same idea to keep it going, and those are empty. Those
Also,
have like January and that's about it, because I was like, what am I going to track? Walking around my block. I was working from home, and that walk was like, wasn't for exercise. That was like a sanity walk.
Yeah, for sure.
I work in the travel industry as an editor for a B2B publication. So it was just negative news after negative news. And I just needed to like walk out of it.
Yes.
And I searched every Michael's, every Barnes and Noble's for this when it first came out, with all intentions of doing it in 2020. And I put it to the side. And now is when I did it. And I'm like, things happen for a reason, because now is when I'm trying to get back into it. And the questions in here, although very simple, are very hard to answer sometimes, I find.
Yes, absolutely. And it was meant to be that way.
I need to go back and answer them. 90% of them are blank.
Yeah. And by the way, I did that. I did it when the reason why I had it to be I wanted it to be interactive, and I wanted people to open it up and write in it and had highlight it. And, you know, just really, you've heard that Wreck This Journal. Have you?
Yeah.
It's like, I want it to be not a really pretty, pristine thing on your bookshelf, but something that you work through. And I did it. I have a copy of one of mine that, yes, that I did that same thing, and it changes, you know. And the reason that I did that is because I think it was before we did the Happy Planner. Right after my husband and I started dating, I took an online class, which I'm still obsessed with. I can sign up for so many that I go, oh my God, why did I sign up for so many classes? But I just love to learn. And it asked me, this was about learning to get to know yourself. And I want to say there was like 20 pages of these questions that seem like, you know, when are you your happiest? I don't know. Like one question, what makes you happy? Like, what gives you a sense of fulfillment? Who do you feel safest around? Like, I mean, it was just like question after question after question. And it took me months to answer these, because I would go through and I'd answer all the ones that felt like, oh, I know that it's my husband, you know, or whatever. And, but when I finally answered them all, the last exercise in this class was to create a personal mission statement. And when I finally worked through those questions, when I look at my personal mission statement now, it basically, like, I just feel like it almost, I can't think of the word. Okay, I'll just say anticipates, that's not it, but like the Happy Planner, like the creation of the Happy Planner. So it's like, I want to embrace, I've always been a positive person, and I've always felt that I can use that to work through difficult situations. And I said, I want to help and inspire people to do the same, you know, and to use that for, because I know I'm a realistic optimist. I'm not a, you know, oh no, that thing's fine, everything's fine. I believe that there are hard things. My life has been filled with a lot of hard things as well, but it has been that, you know, looking and knowing that I know I'll get through this, even as hard as I know I'll get through it. And so when I see those and answer those tough questions, thinking, I should know this about myself, right? But they're not always easy to answer. And so I wanted to put those in the book so that you would answer, like, and I had a hard time answering my own questions in the book when I did it again after I got my hard copy, because things change. But those things that really make you think about who you are, what you want out of life. If at the end of the day, you know, what do you really want out of life? What is important to you? And are you doing everything in your power? Because I know we have limitations, but are you doing everything that you can to make those things happen, to get yourself closer to those things? Because I look and I think I want to be a very present and loving source of support and for my children, my husband, and my grandchildren. And if I find myself going like, hey, this is a really good opportunity over here, and I'm working so hard and I'm not present in my family's life, then why am I doing those things? You know, but some people may say, you know what, my career is so important to me, and this is where I want to spend all my time. And if they're off traveling the world, then maybe they're not fulfilling what their purpose is too. So you really need to figure out that why for you, what makes you tick and what is important to you.
Anyone have any questions? Any comments?
Wow. That's my comment is wow. Wow.
Does anybody want to maybe, I know that not everyone is at the section 3 or 4, even though that's what we're discussing today. I know people might be at different areas of the book by now, but if anybody maybe wants to share if you've gotten anything out of the book or if it's changed anything for you.
If you have any questions, I went back and I'm like, okay, wait, let me look at this thing again. This was a while ago that I wrote this.
There is something at the very back of, I finished the book. The very back of the book where you included like what makes me happy. It's almost like the little poster, little pages.
Was that the Michael's? That's the Michael's bonus content. Yeah.
There's a page that says it's like a list, and I'm a big list person. So, and it's the one that says happy to be me. I am enough. I am worthy. I am strong. Like, I think after doing the exercises in the book and leaving a lot of them blank because not because I didn't know the answers, but maybe I don't want to put them down because I can't really those answers right now.
Yes, that's why I didn't answer.
No, they're very difficult to answer without completely being introspective, and maybe I don't want to go there, or I'm uncomfortable to go there right now.
Sure.
So I'm just not doing it, because I have to be so honest with myself.
Right.
And sometimes you just can't be.
Yes.
Or you don't want to be.
Yep.
Can be, but you don't want to be. Or you don't want to see it. But that list, these affirmations almost, I mean, I think they're great because it's almost like I don't want to rip them out of the book, but I'm just like, but you know what I mean? I just want to like put them in my journal. And when I open it every day is, just saying, okay, yes, especially like I deserve and I am worthy and I'm smart and all these things that I don't think I am most of the time. And this is like, it resonated with me because I want to look at it and I want to say, yeah, okay. And the
affirmations are huge.
That these things even went through like these, they're so simple, 3-word statements, and that they are so fitting and so catered to every single person who reads it. Because I mean, it's not like I could have written this for myself kind of thing, if that makes any sense.
Yes. And it's, I think that when it all comes down to one of my favorite affirmations, I think, period, is I am worthy. Because it could be, I am worthy of love. I'm worthy of that job I want. I'm worthy of, we are worthy just because we are. It doesn't mean we're perfect. That doesn't mean we don't make mistakes. But when I finally believed that I was worthy of love, because I was in a toxic, abusive marriage for a long time, and I believed that, and I didn't share a ton about it in the book, but I believed that all the things that my husband said that I was, and all the things that he said that I wasn't, and I had zero self-esteem, and I did not believe that I was worthy of anything really. I mean, I got very, it got really bad, and I was extremely depressed, and it got to the point at the end where, when he said, you are fat, middle-aged, and nobody would want you. Oh, so, I mean, and I can say that now, but I believed it. I stayed. And so you stayed, and that's maybe drastic, but when we don't believe that we're worthy of love, or we don't believe that we're worthy of the things that we want in our lives, we don't get them.
Yeah.
I didn't believe it didn't matter if I was him or not. I needed to work on myself to know that, flaws and all, I'm worthy of love, and I'm worthy of being here on this earth, taking up space, and I'm worthy to be able, I can make mistakes, and that's okay. Once I truly believed that, things in my life started changing because I believed then that we're open to things. I don't think that it was because, you know, there was nothing in my life that came in, you know, around me at those times before, but I was open to it because when my husband now, you know, was like, hey, would you like to go for lunch? I was like, okay, sure. You know, and when he was kind to me, I realized that, and when I left my ex-husband, it was like, I knew because I said, I don't deserve this. Nobody does. Nobody deserves to feel this way. And so that meant that I believed I deserved better. And to me, that felt very self-centered. I wasn't used to saying that. It felt conceited to say, I deserve better. Who says that? You know, who do I think I am? Because that's what I was told. But no, it's very humble. It's a thing because we feel like we're part of something bigger. I don't feel like I'm better than anybody else. I think everyone is worthy. And so affirmations, like you say, to say it over and over again until you believe it. I said, I believe we're all beautiful. I never felt beautiful, ever. All I could do was look in the mirror and see everything wrong with myself. Now I can see, I feel flawed like every other human, but I feel worthy and beautiful, just like I think everybody else is. So affirmations can seem kind of woo-woo and they can seem kind of like, oh, okay, I'm going to tell myself this, but I, no joke, took big stickers on my mirror in my bathroom that said just that thing. It said, I am worthy. Depending on what it was that I needed to hear, I put sticky notes or whatever on my bathroom mirror so that it was a reminder to me that, okay, all right, no, you can do this, you can do this. And eventually it starts to feel more natural, you know?
Absolutely.
Wow, that's amazing.
Anybody else want to share any takeaways they got from the book?
I haven't finished reading it, but I did. Mine's blank. Mine's blank because I'm like going through it and I'm like, I was trying to find it if there was, maybe I made it up in my head or it was in there, but just about like that your answer, you have to be careful that your answers are really yours, you know, that it's no one else and you're not editing yourself. And that's why I haven't answered anything, because I'm like, you always have like this almost like preconceived notions of what you already like, as opposed to like doing that true deep dive. Okay, what do I really, really like? Or what do I really want to do? That kind of thing. So I'm like, you know what? I think I need to just read the whole thing and then have that like take a long time on each of those questions. But it is kind of cool. I mean, I like the way it's split up. So I plan to go back.
That's really insightful though, because, you know, I think so many people include, I mean, my husband and I will sit and we ask each other things. And it's like, sometimes we have to stop, because I basically like have like a little psychology philosophical session with him almost every time we sit down. Because that's just, I'm fascinated by things like that. But when we on our very first, I think our first official date, I asked him, he should have known what he was getting himself into. I said, if you had 1 week all to yourself, no responsibilities or anything else, what would you do? And I said, and don't answer this, how, you know, what would sound great on Instagram or what people would think. No, what would you do? And he was like, oh, okay, wait. And he kept going, well, I don't think that's me. Okay, wait, oh, wait, I don't think that's me. And so when he answered, and his was like, I think I would just go to the East Coast somewhere and just basically chill and hang out on the beach and just walk the beach and maybe and he's like, does that sound boring? And I was like, I'm in love with this man, because I was like, that's exactly what I would do. And it doesn't sound exciting. And most of my family would think that you guys are, and they do, we think, so many people think we're so boring. But when we both were really honest about what it was that our feelings were about that very random thing, we were able to see, wow, we're really connected. Now, if he would have told me he wanted to go like downhill skiing, and I'd be like, I don't want to do that. I'm not an adrenaline junkie. I'm like Miss Calm, Cool, Collected. And so it also is so applicable when you're talking about these things. Or like, have you ever taken a personality test and they're like, don't answer the way you think you should be? Like, I'll answer, I'm going like, oh, I wish that wasn't me, but I think that's me. You know, it's not, you're not really cheating anybody else but yourself. So the same thing with these questions is, you know, sometimes you're not ready to answer them, and that's okay. You know, sometimes you just want to go, let me let this sink in for a while. And then it might be 2 years down the road, and you might go, you know, there was that book. I think I want to answer those questions, you know, because they are really deep. And if you let them, and I think when you do go deep is when you start to like kind of mine those nuggets in your own life to say, you know, you have to feel safe enough at that moment, because sometimes it doesn't feel right, because you might be dealing with something and it's not the right time to go deep, you know? Yeah. And we all, I mean, depending on what you're going through, sometimes it's just not the right time.
It's true. We kind of start to believe other people's perspective of ourselves. Like, I'm a people pleaser 1,000%. I will put my plans to the side to take care of my nieces or help my mom with something, or take my nephew out, anything like that. But it's true. We start to, like, when you're answering it, you start to hear those voices like, you're the noble one, you're the quiet one.
Yes.
You're the writer, you're this. And it's not really who you, that could be part of you, but it's not essentially all of you.
Right. And who really wants to open up a book and go, you write something down and you're like, I don't like this about myself. You know, you write it down, you're like going like, somebody might see this, you know, and I don't like that. I think it's kind of nice to be able to just say, whether it's this or a journal or whatever, let it be yours. Don't, unless you want to share it with somebody else, let it be a place where you write down, and you might even write it out and then go, I'm not really happy with this answer. You know, I'm going to think about this later. Like, you know, because sometimes that just gives us some insight. And if you can do it without being a critic, you know, without looking at it going like, oh man, you really your act together, you know, or gosh, I can't believe if somebody opened this thing up, they're going to think, what is she, you know, who is she? But if you look at it as like just kind of like you're looking inside, you know, and giving yourself that permission to say, this can just be an exploratory exercise, and it doesn't have to be pretty. For those of us who are people pleasers and want to do things well, I've literally written things down, and I'm looking at going, who am I kidding? Like, no one's going to read this. And I'm writing down this, you know, I would love, blah, blah, blah. I'd love to be kind and compassionate. I do, but that wasn't the answer. That wasn't really how I was feeling at the time, you know, but I'm so in tune to wanting to be a kind, compassionate person that even when I wasn't feeling it at that time, I wanted to write it down in my own journal. Like it doesn't make any sense, but we're led to do that because that's who we want to be. But we have to, in order to be like really become exactly who we want to be, we have to be able to take that or give ourselves the permission to really look at where we are. And for the most part, unless, you know, I would say I would give the vast majority of humans the benefit of the doubt to say, none of us are just trying to be idiots out in this world. You know, we have our own stories and we have our own like reasons for doing that. So I try and give people the benefit of the doubt. When you see somebody out on the street and they're just a jerk, or, you know, they let the door slam in your face, I'm thinking that person probably had a really bad day, because what's the alternative? That they're just an idiot, you know? But, you know, but to give yourself that permission to say, I'm just a work in progress, just like everybody else. And, you know, it is my sincerest hope that for me and for all of you and for everybody reading the book, that it would be a way to say, here are some things that I can look at and see if I'm in alignment to the things, to my purpose. Do I even know what my purpose is? You know, I think sometimes we do. And then I did for a long time when I was working. I knew what my purpose was. And then I retired and I thought, like I said, the stress was, oh, this was so nice to be able to breathe for a little bit. And then I'd wake up going like, what's my purpose on earth? You know, I mean, yes, it's to be a mom and a grandma and a wife, but I wanted more. I wanted a project. And so even though I was very in tune to my purpose, just a year before that, I needed to do this whole thing again to see where I was currently, you know, so it is something that it's ever changing. And that's why I think if you get in the practice of it, you get to a different point in your life. And, you know, Michelle, you're 40, maybe when you're 50, maybe when you get up there and you're like, you might have it completely down, you know, this year you go, man, I am in tuned to where I'm at, but something may happen or just a different stage in life. And then you think, okay, but once you've exercised that muscle, it's a really good tool to have in your toolbox to say, okay, I'm going to go back inside. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to ask myself those questions again. And I think that it's usually a little bit easier because you've been practiced.
I feel like, at least for me, like this pandemic time has caused a lot of that thinking nonstop, at least for me. Like I don't have children. So my identity was, I'm a writer, I'm an editor. That's what I am until I was furloughed. And then I was like, why did I give up Mother's Day to work that day? Why did I give up so many family events for these work trips that at the end of the day, I felt weren't recognized the minute I was furloughed? I'm now back, but I don't feel not even a smidge towards my job of how I felt pre-furlough and pre-pandemic. Now I'm like, that's just 8 hours of my day. That's it. Like my drive and purpose now for me, I'm like, which I think was why I think it was a good idea that I didn't read this in 2020 and I'm reading it now.
Yeah. Well, I think that, you know, the pandemic took so much from the world, but I do think one of the things that it gave us was a chance to be introspective and a chance to say, like, I'm sure when you were furloughed, that was really a challenging, tough thing for you to go through. But then to say, it did give you the opportunity to that you may not have taken ever. Maybe you never would have taken it, to look and say, maybe maybe I need to shift those. Maybe I had them wrong for a while, you know? And I felt the same way. There were some things that I never really prioritized that once the pandemic and quarantine hit, I was like, because I'm a homebody and I could literally be a hermit. I mean, I'm such an introvert that way. And I love my little tiny group of people. But once I was there, I was lonely. Like I realized like I'm an introvert when I want to be. I want to be a homebody when I want to be. But I realized that there were some important relationships that I wasn't doing a very good job of fostering and nurturing. And I had to take that on myself because I thought, you know, there was no excuse. You know, my dad lives 30 minutes away and I just don't really reach out to him that often, nor did I to my grandmother. And I thought, you know, I need to be better. I need to be a better friend and I need to be a better daughter, because when I couldn't see them and I was worried about them, I realized that connection for me, that was an area I needed to improve. And I don't think I was really able to bury my head in the fact that I was very busy. You know, oh, I would love to be with them, but my job and my blah, blah, blah. Well, even when I retired, I still wasn't doing it, you know? So that was where I had to really, you know, it's a really good practice to check yourself, to be the one to say, you know, not judging so much, but to just go, is that really true? You know, is there something that I can learn? Because that was me. And I think the pandemic did that for me. I mean, there was a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of things that were not good about that. But there were little glimmers of things I think we can learn.
I feel like the pandemic did that for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like I think on every online test, I'm an extrovert, but I think I'm an extroverted introvert because
I'm an introverted extrovert.
I am fine.
I mean, opposite.
I am fine being home. I did not miss the social calendar. I traveled a lot for work. So for me, it was like, I can be home. Like, I don't have to be anywhere. I can just sit here and not worry about anything.
Yes.
So, and I feel like, at least in the conversations I've had with people around me, a lot of people felt like that during the pandemic. Like, it gave them a time to think of, like, what are you really working towards? Have you been making the time for your family? Are you working out like you should be, or
Mhm.
want to be, but never make the time for it? Like, now we had endless amount of time to fill.
Yes. Yes. And it really did. I mean, it zeroed really quickly into what's important, what is important right now, and yeah, I mean, again, sometimes when it's not a choice, but like, what can I get out of this? What can I learn from this situation?
Something that I also took from the book, excuse me for interrupting,
No, go.
was your financial journey. I thought that was so inspirational for women. I don't know that every woman gives it the importance that we should, to be financially savvy, to create stability and have a plan for financial success. We tend to think that's a man's job,
Mhm.
but I think it's very powerful. I learned that late in life. When I was turning 50, I said, I've got to get my finances in order. I want to be debt free, and I'm going to get there. And it feels so powerful. And you mentioned it in the book, and I thought, yes, that's phenomenal. Put it out there. More women need to jump on this ship and take stock of what we've got going, because we're powerhouses, and we don't always believe that.
Oh, absolutely. And for a long time, like I said, there's a lot of stuff I could tell you all the things that I wasn't. And I knew, I mean, obviously, like I was pregnant at 18 and right out of high school. So I took a few community college classes, I think I passed one or two and withdrew, did all this kind of stuff. And so I went into the world going, oh, I'm not that, I'm not that, I'm not that. But I ended up, but I'm very resilient, and I'm very, what's the word too? I'm resourceful. Like I was doing, I was a dental assistant and barely making enough money to like drive to my job and put my son in a really bad daycare. And I'm like, something's got to change, because this was not good care. And I was losing money. Like I know, like this is a bad up. So I'm not one to just go, well, I guess this is just my lot in life. I was an unwed teenage pregnant mom, and here I am. I was like, and by the way, I've also grown up, I had the support of my family to the point where they paid for my hospital. And then they said, this is your thing, you're on your own. But they were supportive emotionally, but I was like, okay, what can I do? I don't have an education and I do not have any money. And I thought, I'm the oldest of like 9 half full, all these kids. And I love children. And I have one that needs care. So I'm going to get licensed and be a daycare provider.
Wow.
So I did in-home daycare for 8 years. I worked 11-hour days for 8 years. And, but it allowed me to be home with my kids, and I made enough money at the time, to feed my family. And then I was like, okay, but then I had 2 kids, and I was trying to we bought a house that we couldn't afford, even a small house, we couldn't afford it. And so I've learned those financial lessons. And along the way, I wasn't afraid to ask for help, but then I learned each time. I wasn't going to be that person who was just like, oh, I'm just a girl, I don't know. I'm not going to be that person. I'm okay to say, I don't know this. Can you help me? And I'm going to learn, I'm going to go forward. So then when my mom and I started our business, we brought a lot of people on who were like, I don't know anything about business. I didn't have an education, but the world is filled with free information and free education. And I was mentored. I would reach out to people and say, I would love to just talk to you, which is why I usually say yes when I can to talk to people, because I reached out and got a world of wisdom from so many smart people. And so I was able to build our business, and I wanted to be like financially stable and provide that. And I realized, I also think all the stars were aligned, because people work 10 times harder than I worked, and I worked hard and don't get the success that I do, not because I have something they don't have. It's just, I don't know why, but I feel very blessed. So I take that blessing very seriously, and I'm hopefully responsible with it. But knowing that, I even tell my daughter, my daughter's 28 years old, and I wanted nothing more than for her to be an independent woman, both financially. I want her to, she's single and she'd like to be with somebody. And I said, whether you do or you don't, her life right now is full. She's financially and, it's independent, and she can take care of herself. She doesn't need somebody. And I think it's important, because there's a lot of things. Finances are not my strength, but it's my responsibility to know how to take care of myself and to understand enough about my finances to know how to take care of them and to be a responsible steward of them. So it's definitely been a long, because I'm a creative, right-brained person. So it's not my thing, but I'm the person that's like, I'll be damned if I'm going to say that I can't do that.
Amazing. Amazing.
I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I know we've gone over a little bit over an hour, but I can sit here and talk to you for 5 more hours. But does anybody have any other questions before we wrap it up? Or if there's any, I have one more, but I'll save it. Stephanie, there's anything else you'd like to add? No, any questions? Okay, I'll go then.
Okay.
What does happy and healthy mean to you? And what does that look like?
To me, I think it's really living in alignment with my truest self at the moment, what I want for the moment. And I think that means taking care of who I am. It's honoring myself, both physically and mentally and spiritually. That is probably knowing that I'm living that, because I can't say that it means that I'm a certain weight or that I've, my cholesterol's at this or whatever. But to me, it's like knowing what's important to me, and that I live every day trying to get closer to that. I think I put this on my Instagram a little while ago, but, I grew up where every time I was thinking about this for some reason before our call, but when I was young, I would walk into a room and everybody the first thing they always said was something to do about my appearance. Usually about my body, which was, "Oh, you look great. Have you lost weight?" Or I knew that when they didn't say it, someone was going, "She's got such a pretty face." My grandmother would say, "Isn't it a shame she's so chubby?" Always something about the way I looked. And when I met my husband, and he told my mom, he said, "What I love the most about your daughter is that she's the kindest person I know." And when I have somebody tell me, "You look so happy. You just look so happy right now." These are the things that I think I'm living that happy, healthy life. I'm in alignment again, because when I can look at, again, I posted this on Instagram where I have a picture of myself, 2 pictures at the same weight. I had to go back and look, and it was only because I was tracking my weight every single day that I knew exactly how much I weighed back then, but it was night and day. My face and the other one was puffy and tired, and, and I didn't look vibrant. The other one, several years later, when I'm actually living in alignment with my purpose and really have identified what's important to me, and I'm really kind of actively pursuing health and happiness, I look like a different person. I look like a different person. And so that's something that I want for everyone. I want them to be able to realize that, it's all those elements of wellness, making sure that whichever one is the baby, the child that needs you the most, that you're attending to, whether that's, my job, my relationships, my education, my whatever, that you're attending to all those. And that's where I have found true health and happiness. And I'm not exactly where I want to be right now, but I'm the happiest and the healthiest that I've been in my entire life. 51 years old, and I couldn't be happier. I wouldn't go back to 20. I wouldn't go back to 30. I love being this age. And so that's, to me, that's what happy and healthy is.
That's really nice. Does anybody want to chime in what happy and healthy means to you? Share. No.
This is one of those questions like the book. This is one of those really revealing answer questions.
Leave it blank.
Just stew on, just marinate. Let that one marinate for a while.
Well, I mean, not delving as deeply as Stephanie did, but I think, reaching the age of 50 is so empowering and so liberating. I don't know if every woman at the age of 50 feels that way. Hopefully life is good enough that we can feel that way. But wow, we question ourselves so much in life as mothers, as spouses, and family members, and at the workplace. We're always second guessing. Did we do the best thing, the right thing? And there's something so liberating about getting to a certain age where maybe we didn't say the right thing. And does it really matter? It really doesn't. How much consequence does that one thing have over the big span of our life? To me, I feel blessed to be at this age on earth. And I love the idea that we can turn back and mentor people that are younger than we are. And I love to see women who, I'm in awe of you, because what you're doing for women all over the world is beautiful. Sometimes women don't want to share and pave the path for the ones that come behind, but that's what we should do. We should reassure each other that, we are powerful and capable, and we make such an incredible contribution to life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Honestly, being 50, when I turned 50, I haven't had a problem with anything. Someone, oh, did you turn 40? I'm like, I didn't care. I loved it. I feel it's an honor, and I feel like it's a privilege to be able to live to be old. I hope I live to be old. And if I'm wrinkly and old and wise, and that's going to be like, that's what I want, because how many people have come before us who don't get that privilege? And so I want to make the most of that. I'm not going to be tied up in that. And the freedom that comes with age. I just told my husband this morning not to go again, but you can tell this is where we do in the morning. But I just said, I've become very comfortable with knowing that I don't know everything. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with things. Just there's answers out there in life that I don't know, and this in space and all that stuff. And I probably will never know. Maybe I'll know when I die. I don't know, but that's okay, because I don't think that's what I'm here is to know everything. I'm here. And the older I get, the more I know I don't know, and the more eager I am to learn. And don't you just wish you knew all this stuff when you were 20, that you felt this way when you were 20?
Yes.
But I guess that's what, life is figuring it all out, and, arriving here, and hopefully at 60 and 70, and, just having so much more to learn.
Before we ended, do you want to tell everybody about your wellness coaching in case anybody is interested?
Oh yeah. Well, I've started, people have asked, like, so are you going back to work? I'm like, no, I have this desire to help people who, most with women. I want to help women who are emotional eaters, who have always wanted to be healthy, and to break that connection, to really heal the relationship with food and themselves. Because I think that everything starts with learning to love yourself and accept yourself. And so in this world of, let me sell you a diet, let me sell you this pill or this supplement or this whatever, we're missing that point. Like, why is it? What's missing? What holes are you filling? And then I think it becomes, most of us know how to eat a healthy diet, right? Most of us, for the most part, know what's healthy and what's not. So doing that, I just decided, I've taken on just a couple of one-on-one clients at first, just to really get my feet wet, but I'm hoping to open up either group coaching or online coaching. I'm not sure how long I'm going to do one-on-one, because I'm trying to balance, like I've said, I'm really trying to balance this part of my life. I want to be active in my children's lives and my grandkids' lives. I have 4 little grandsons, and my husband and I want to travel. And so I want to balance out, and I'm still kind of figuring out what that looks like. What is me starting this business, and how can I do that? So, but on my website, that's where we're going to, and on my Instagram account, which is Stephanie_Fleming and StephanieFleming.com. That's where I'll kind of have all of the updates once I kind of get a little bit closer, but I hope to be a resource to help people make some of those connections, because it's made all the difference in the world to me. And that's kind of where this part of my life is like, it's not really to create another business, because if I don't want it to grow big, I just want to like give back. So yeah, so you can tune in there and see whatever, who knows what it's going to turn into, but
like it's fulfilling for yourself too at the same time.
it is. It's definitely a passion project. And so it's balancing, how can I offer that help and help women make those connections, because I've identified my ideal client, which is not somebody who identifies as like someone who would be, oh, I'm definitely in the health space. I'm in the health and wellness space. I follow all the influencers and I'm super healthy, and that's great. But there's so many people for you. You know, for me, I want someone who is like me, who was like, I want nothing more than to be happy and healthy, but I don't know how to do this. That's who I want to help. So yeah, so it's very exciting. Plus, like I said, I'm going back to school full time. So I don't know, I'm an overcommitter.
I want to say you are so inspiring. If anybody doesn't follow Stephanie on Instagram, she does these IG lives every once in a while. Sometimes she takes us along her walks with us and gives little wellness motivation chats, which to me are very inspiring. Like the one you did with Kayla a few weeks ago about where you were both branching out to now.
Yes.
I found so inspiring because, again, like I said, I find myself in that like crossroads right now. Like, what brings me happiness? And not to like plug myself in, but I relaunched my website, which I had 10 years ago, and I put it to the side when I started this job 8 years ago because I didn't have time for it. But that was one thing that fulfilled me. And now putting these book clubs together and these discussions and helping motivate or empower other women and just discuss and learn from each other is one thing that brings me happiness.
So you're following.
I found.
Yeah, but you're following. That's what, if you were my child, I would be like, you're so following where you're, that little tug, those little whispers. And one thing might lead to the next, but you just keep listening. And that's why from Kayla, when we were talking about that, she's even pivoted from that talk we had. And I've just encouraged them, like, it doesn't matter. You need to, she was like, all I want to do is I want to create this like homestead in her suburban backyard. She wants to grow food. And she's like, I just keep getting pulled towards there. But I did that live where I said it was more, and I'm like, girl, you do you. Like, it doesn't matter if when you're following, you're going to do the book club. I want to launch this thing. It may or may not be the thing that you stick with. You might go, oh, like I said, you might have this new learning that I love this website, but I want it to like, tweak it a little bit. And it's just that process of continuing to follow those whispers, those little nudges that you say, I am being pulled this way.
That didn't even click for me until I saw your live. So I'm saying like, you're inspiring people every time you do things. Like my family's like, does it make money? Is this website giving you money? I'm like, maybe one day, but right now it's unstressing me from my 8-hour work.
Yes. That's a purpose. That is a purpose.
So thank you. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us today.
It's been a pleasure.
I know I've learned a lot from you through IG, and this chat was great. And this book, I'm a fangirl of you and the Happy Planner and all of it.
Oh, thank you guys so much. It was so nice. Thank you, Michelle, for asking me and for, hosting this. And it's been just a pleasure talking with all of you. And I really do. I hope you're able to, in your own time, answer those questions for yourselves and just really learn to listen to your own intuition and know what you need to be happy and healthy, and then pursue it with everything you have.
Thank you for accepting. And I was stressing that this was not going to be a big group because we normally have more people, but I think everything happens for a reason, and it allowed us to chat more.
Absolutely. It was a wonderful conversation, and it was a pleasure.
Does anybody have anything else they want to say before we sign off?
I just want to say thank you, Stephanie, really, for sharing and for putting yourself out there and making us, aware that you're just like us. There's people out there. And I think these connections are very important, and they sort of lift you up, because you see that no matter what kind of struggles you might be going through or whatever kind of day you're having, there is a whole group of women out there that are having the same exact thing going on. And, you know, just one word or just one conversation can make such a difference. And you've made a difference for us, I think, this evening. So I'm very grateful. I'm very appreciative.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a real honor. It really
And
was.
that little face down there, the little young face, is my niece. My sister-in-law is listening, but she keeps texting me. She's like bathing the kids and cooking, doing all that. So she's listening, but so
Well, it was a cute little girl to look at because I'm like, who is this little cute little girl with that hat?
that's my niece.
She's a doll.
Can we take a photo before we sign off?
Yeah,
If anybody has your book, with your book. If not, it's
I
fine.
do. Wait, I have mine.
Let me do, I'm gonna take a couple screenshots here. Cheese. Okay, we'll do one more.
This is fun.
There we go. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you guys
Thank
so
you.
much. Bye.
Sorry we took up so much of your time, but thank you.
No, it was fun.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye. Good night, everybody.
Good night, and thank you, Michelle.
No, thank you for coming.
Bye-bye.